People work for different reasons, some because they have to, others because they genuinely love their work. When you meet someone who is truly passionate about their work, it's hard not to be amazed by how effortlessly they work and the attention to detail they put into every task.
Welcome to 1001 Crazy,
where you'll witness superlative performances caught in everyday life. Let's get started.
While I'm yet to even master the art of solving a single Rubik's Cube, Los Angeles-based magician Stephen Brundage has mastered the art of making art with his Rubik's Cubes, 814 of them to be precise. After learning of Kobe Bryant's tragic demise in 2020, Stephen took the art movement of Cubism to a whole new, more literal dimension and created a portrait of Kobe solely from Rubik's Cubes. Over a period of 20 hours, Stephen not only manipulated over 800 Rubik's Cubes into perfect individual color patterns, but pieced them into an awesome pop art portrait of the late basketball legend. An incredible talent and an even more incredible tribute. When you think of road markings, you're probably not overwhelmed with excitement, but I can assure you that the process of creating them is oddly satisfying. And giving us a backstage pass to see the process is British TikToker and professional line marker Joe Pinney. Using extremely hot thermoplastic paint, Joe satisfyingly sizzles his designs onto the concrete. And considering the paint dries incredibly fast, there really is no room for mistakes, making Joe's job all the more skillful and all the more satisfying. It's a notoriously difficult shape to draw, yet this girl was able to create the perfect one in snow as she orbited her foot around her body. Swish. But is there a secret method to drawing the perfect circle? Well, the aptly named Circle Line Art School YouTube channel claims that if you anchor your hand in one spot and turn the paper, you can actually achieve a perfect circle. Similar to how this woman entered one foot in the center of the circle. Juggling is one of those relatively simple little tricks that I've never quite been able to grasp. But truly putting me to shame is the fact that some talented individuals can juggle to the extreme, with trick shots and tosses that are not only satisfying to watch, but will leave your brain in knots. Take Brazilian juggler Lucas Adverse, for example. Thanks to his impressive hand-eye coordination, the balls seemingly have their own gravitational pull as they orbit Lucas. After watching this guy, from now on, I'm going to have to judge people's talent based on how relentlessly they break the rules of physics. This worker is definitely talented, but he's also slightly insane, stacking explosive propane tanks on the back of a truck in the most efficient and slightly reckless way possible. This guy trims with pinpoint accuracy, turning an unwieldy hedge into a perfect rectangle. His hand is perfectly steady, but he has some competition from another highly skilled hedge cutter. This backyard bush barber works for Bee-Craft Landscape, and he cuts across this hedge like butter. That technique is buttery, but it might just melt under the pressure from this next competitor. Answorth & Sons have been cutting hedges for over 80 years, and their experience shows. Despite being in a slightly awkward standing position, this tiptoed trimmer's cuts remain precise, leaving behind a perfectly smooth wall of green. Wow. Fire up your trimmers and hedge your bets. It looks like we have a trim-off on our hands. It's a close shave, but let me know which green-thumbed worker is your favorite in the comments below. You might think catch is just a silly game for kids, but it turns out if you'd trained harder, you could have gone pro. This team of workers move like a well-oiled machine, passing bowls of wet concrete with incredible speed and accuracy. And just look at the two guys in the middle, swapping their bowls like a juggling act. Rome wasn't built in a day, but at that rate, that house might have been. This isn't the only creative use of concrete shared online. We have a video from TikToker Critical Kicks, who is a 15-year-old sneaker reseller who also happens to have a talent for cleaning up the most downtrodden trainers. In 2021, he apparently found some bust-up Nike Air Force Ones just lying around in the woods. Now, my spidey senses tell me that he probably planted them there himself, but nevertheless, he gave them a whole lot of TLC. He began by scrubbing them with a little Castile soap, which is a plant-based soap used for a variety of cleaning purposes. He also got those laces looking fresh, with what appears to be some kind of bleach solution. Next, Salon Care 40 was applied to the soles, another bleach mixture which is typically used in hair color processing. Critical Kicks, however, instead used it on these kicks, saran wrapping them, and getting them under a UV lamp. Now, the UV lamp doesn't actually do anything to whiten the sneakers on its own, but instead speeds up the process of the bleaching chemicals applied. These chemicals are trapped by the saran wrap, encouraging them to break down dirt, specifically the parts of the molecules responsible for color, resulting in a whiter appearance. And once they'd finished cooking up, all that was left to do was scrubbing off the Salon Care 40, ironing out the creases, and voila. Good as new! That was a little too satisfying not to watch again as a time-lapse, am I right? That'll do it. These workers put the con in concrete, using a specialized tool to roll on brick paving without the effort of laying individual bricks, saving some cash with some clever deception. This wily worker has the same idea. This workman from Stencil Tech uses a stencil to peel the brick pattern out, laying hundreds of phony bricks in just a few minutes. He covers a layer of plain concrete with the brick pattern stencil and spray paints the rest a color of the customer's choice, peeling out a perfect, seeming faux brick driveway. Does anyone else feel lied to? I'll never trust a brick walkway again. Elsewhere on TikTok, construction worker Pro Aggie shares behind-the-scenes content of his construction work. And surprisingly, it turns out his cement work is oddly satisfying to watch. Just check it out for yourself. Yep, this guy is a smooth operator, as he finesses those blobs of cement into a clean, smooth rail. Who knew cement could be so satisfying to watch? The dog in the background gets it. Good boy, cement pup. Good boy. These guys will hook you up with a concrete job that's smoother than jazz using an industrial-sized squeegee, known as a power screed, to turn rough concrete into a satisfyingly shiny surface. A wise man once said, "Work smarter, not harder." And there are few better examples of this than the next clip, which comes from TikToker and professional plasterer Putch8. With just one scoop, he's able to swoop the entire wall, as he efficiently fills every single hole in the drywall. With work this smooth, I almost slipped over just watching it. So once those walls are plastered, you're probably going to want to paint them, which can be tricky if you're not a professional. And one of the hardest parts is what the pros call cutting in. That is, making sure the edge of the painted wall is neat and doesn't cross onto the adjoining surfaces. On the side of caution, many opt to use tape, though those with skill and uncompromising pride need no help when it comes to this. Take decorator Alec, for example. Oof. With a loaded brush in his steady hand, Alec impressively glides along the wall and intricate woodwork with complete ease, resulting in a perfect finish and one heck of a satisfying clip. At least it's satisfying once you stop biting your nails in fear of him messing up. But Alec, well, he simply doesn't mess up. This perfect painter is Taylor Llewellyn, working for ABC Tennis, a company that specializes in restoring tennis courts. Taylor lays down a black asphalt seal coat before painting the courts with acrylic latex paint mixed with silica sand, providing the players with grip and making the court more durable against the busy footwork of those using it. But one thing's for sure, when Taylor gets served with a tennis court, he aces it every time. Moving on, there's nothing quite as unsatisfying as when you're peeling something and it doesn't come off in one clean piece. So you can imagine the satisfaction TikToker Artem Balog felt when this happened to him. Yep, as he put his scraper to this painted door, the layers of paint practically melted away into perfectly curled strips. And there are a variety of reasons why paint might peel like this. Perhaps water damage, a high humidity environment, poor surface preparation. Though, who really cares when it's so damn satisfying? This woman is a wonton wizard, stuffing, folding, and sealing wonton dumplings so quickly that it's almost invisible to the naked eye. With the sleight of hand of a master street magician, she's able to seal up the dough skin around the ground meat mixture with the effortless muscle memory only years of practice can afford. Now, how about some dessert? There are some jobs out there you probably never realized existed. And for me, I'd never considered that golf clubs actually alter the course's layout regularly as a way to avoid foot traffic ruining certain areas of the course. And to do this, they have to fill in old holes, which just so happens to be incredibly satisfying to watch. Thanks to Pinehurst Resort in Carolina, we got to see just how the magic happens, which involves the groundskeeper inserting the earth, pressing it down, and then concealing the edges with green sand, which is commonly used to hide blemishes on a golf course. I guess you could say it was a real hole-in-one on the satisfaction scale, huh? This street vendor is lobbing lokma, a dish consisting of small balls of deep-fried dough. This circus act is a feast for the eyes and the stomach, but we could definitely save even more time if he tossed the lokma straight into my mouth. Elsewhere in the line of satisfying work is leather repair. And let me tell you, this falls in at a strong to extreme on the satisfaction scale. Someone who knows a thing or two about this is TikToker Jason Quaid. Let's take a look at him in action. Satisfying, right? And having garnered nearly 9 million likes, it seems the people of TikTok would also agree. But rest assured, there's no magic to this disappearing act. Just a whole lot of skill. Jason begins by applying a vinyl repair compound, which fills in the gaps, and once cured by the heat gun, creates a permanent, flexible bond that is smooth to the touch. After that, a simple spritz of leather dye seamlessly disguises the blemish. It's a tried and true way to repair leather. Just ask Madonna. She's been doing it to her face for years now. Taking a look at this baker's unique method of cake decoration. With icing in their veins and a touch as soft as red velvet, TikTok user Emily UE makes the technique look like a piece of cake, decorating the dessert on a spinning pottery wheel. The frosting is soft enough that as it rotates, the baker can carve into it relatively easily, using a set of basic tools to create edible artwork that's almost too good to eat. But if we are gonna eat all that frosting, we're gonna need something to wash it down. For folks like you and me, a vegetable is simply a vegetable. But for TikToker Sculptor Jack, vegetables are canvases for his elaborate carving creations. Feast your eyes on this. From side dish to goldfish, there's no denying how satisfying it is to witness the whole process. Now, he's yet to reveal all of his tricks, though it seems he achieves these incredible artworks with little more than glue and simple tools that you might find in a pumpkin carving kit, like these handy ribbon tools. This human water fountain is pouring Erk Su, an herbal licorice tea that's popular in the Middle East. With steady hands and years of experience, he can serve up to 5 customers at once without spilling a single drop. Once again, I'll take it directly into my mouth, please. But if you're still hungry for more satisfying art, then let's knock over the first block of Tobias Hagahe's domino art. In 2017, he used over 20,000 dominoes to create a series of SpongeBob SquarePants-themed domino artworks. Ingeniously, when the dominoes were knocked down, they had been meticulously planned out to reveal images of the characters. But did it work? Well, let's see. Woo! Domino? More like Dama, yes. But I want to know, are you satisfied with this satisfying video so far? Nailed it. TikTok user Umut Kolak uses a heavy sledgehammer with insane power and precision, and the smooth gradient inside the rock shows us how clean the cut really is. Speaking of clean cuts, when it comes to cutting with precision, this lumberjack and his chainsaw take the gold medal. He came, he sawed, he conquered, dropping that gigantic tree trunk in between those narrow fence posts. The defenseless fence lives to see another day, and the relieved lumberjack wipes the sweat off his helmet? Maybe he was so nervous he sweated right through. That looked pretty nerve-wracking, but sometimes felling a tree can have even higher stakes. The video quality of this next footage has a hard time living up to the quality of the workers, given that it's a decade old. But I have no doubt you'll still be seriously impressed as these lumberjacks take down a tree with an entire house on the line.
Beautiful. Just touching the roof. Thank you, God.
Whew! Sorry I didn't shout timber, but I was too busy holding my breath. However, when it comes to celebrity tributes, Brazilian sculptor Juliana Lapine literally takes it to another dimension. In 2018, she created a 3-dimensional, 7-inch lifelike clay replica of Lady Gaga from her 2016 Super Bowl performance. While the start of the process isn't so pretty, the satisfaction comes gradually as she sculpts from the bone to the butt. Eventually, a miniature version of the singer is revealed. that I'm not completely convinced won't come to life at night and sing. And with the meticulous hair and makeup, Juliana really does make this clay slay. Or whatever it is you kids are saying these days. That combine harvester is the cream of the crop, and the way the tractors maneuver around it combines precision with speed. The drivers operating the heavy machinery like go-karts. Note the second tractor trailer, ready to go the second the first is full, meaning that they can harvest a huge number of crops without having to stop or spill any produce. These guys aren't the only fast farmers, though. Next up is Ukrainian bartender and TikToker Vlad, aka the Slick Bartender. And as the Slick Bartender's username alludes to, Vlad isn't your average barman. With almost 10 million TikTok followers, Vlad shows off absolute mastery of hospitality utensils, but best of all, ice. And sure, he won't be raising a huge ice castle from a mountain anytime soon, but he does have quite the talent for creating art from ice. With his hammer, chisel, blade, saw, and rotary tool, Vlad exerts his skill and taps out insanely cool creations. From Superman to Amazon, there isn't much Vlad can't create, and subsequently melt. You hear that, Elsa? There's a new ice sorcerer on the block. This fellow's only 17, but he's already shearing like a pro, spinning the sheep around like a ballerina as he gives it a salon cut in well under a minute. Thankfully, this life shaver's wearing that harness for some back support while bending over. Though if it were me, I'd probably still put my back out before I even got started, harness or otherwise. Speaking of magical powers, can you hear that? Nope, there are no broomstick-riding, bespectacled teenagers approaching. It's actually a talented street performer spotted in Venice in 2017. With his glass harp and talent, the musician effortlessly performed an incredibly satisfying rendition of Hedwig's theme from the Harry Potter series. Check it out. Pretty mind-blowing, huh? When a moistened finger is run down the circumference of each glass, the vibration causes the glass to produce a note. Each glass has to be specifically tuned, which is achieved by varying amounts of water. The more water in the glass, the deeper the pitch will be. This is because adding more water means the glass requires more energy to vibrate, which reduces the emitted sound's frequency and hence lowers the pitch. There you go, a little acoustics theory lesson on the house. But you can, of course, just call it magic, and you know what? I'll join you. Speaking of magic, and more specifically the students of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, I never thought packaging could be an extreme sport, but that guy's tape technique deserves a spot in the X Games. This next satisfying clip comes from gifted sand sculptor Leonardo Ugolini. Back in 2021, Leonardo took to TikTok to show how he perfectly replicated Hogwarts entirely from sand. As dry sand easily crumbles, Leonardo uses damp sand, possibly with a little clay sprinkled in for added sturdiness, molding and carving it into shape, eventually unveiling a stunning replica of Hogwarts. Of course, you'd be forgiven for thinking there may have been a bit of wizardry at play here. But it's not the only time Leonardo's proved his sandtastic abilities. Leonardo also tackled Hyrule Castle from The Legend of Zelda in an equally astounding effort. As before, he began with just a lump of sand before meticulously carving out the sharp edges and spires, revealing his masterpiece. Even he shielded the sculpture with what's known in Zelda lore as the Twilight Pyramid, which protects Hyrule Castle from any invaders, or in this case, any mean kids on the beach with a penchant for castle stomping. This guy clearly graduated from Hogwarts and took up a job in a packaging plant, magically plastic wrapping these bikes without breaking a sweat. The magic spell is actually a neat little bit of science. The worker fills the plastic bag with air to turn it into a more solid shape, allowing him to slam the inflated bag down on the bike. As the bag hits the bike, he releases the air, and the limp plastic's momentum causes it to wrap itself around the product. And my God, is it satisfying. If you're anything like me, then your handwriting probably looks like it was scrawled by an illiterate caveman. Yet some people seem to have no problem, as they wield their quills and create beautiful calligraphy. Someone who is certainly a master of this is TikToker Made by Edgar, who is supremely talented at recreating famous logos. From Netflix to Nike, it seems that with his flat-edged Pilot Parallel calligraphy pen, Edgar is able to turn his hand to almost anything. Just check out this clip where he appears to be using an empty fountain pen on some foil scratch paper, which reveals an iridescent, sparkling effect underneath. Truly mesmerizing. This guy lugs jugs like there's no tomorrow, able to smoothly rotate the heavy jugs into his hands and then satisfyingly slide them onto the container, never pausing to catch his breath. He's like the Terminator, if the Terminator had a really twisty spine. Ow, my back. Ah, the Slinky, a childhood favorite. Only for the Filipino group of Slinky enthusiasts, Goody Zooty, the Slinky is certainly no child's play. The talented group have been posting to TikTok since the beginning of 2022, but their mastery of the Slink has already gained them over 2.1 million likes, and it's easy to see why. Just take a look at this clip. Through a combination of their skill, synchronization, and fluorescent slinkies, they create what almost resembles a fireworks display of slinkies. Truly mesmerizing. As impressive as that was. Another worker who's able to execute extremely satisfying work that leaves you a little concerned for their back is this guy. Bags of cement can weigh up to 110 pounds, but this guy treats them like pillows, using their momentum to push them into piles that are as neat as his stacking skills. The video captures Shaun White, no, not the snowboarder, who proves that riding a bike sitting down is way overrated. Yep, in 2019, Shaun flexed his BMX skills to onlookers at Fiesta Island, San Diego, as he glided along the waterfront, with one foot planted on the seat and the other steering the handlebars, Sean rolled deep without a hint of trepidation, and here I am, still using my stabilizers. With throws that could make a quarterback blush, this woman has traded a pigskin for cow poop, covering the wall in patties made from cow dung and hay. This may seem a little strange, but it's actually a common practice in some parts of rural India, where cow pats are dried out on the brick walls to use as fuel, being burned in specialized ovens to cook food when other types of fuel are in short supply. While this woman's aim is pretty perfect, if she ever misses and hits a window, I know just who to call. Here's a question. What were you doing when you were 11? Eating mud? Picking boogers? Well, Bella Gant from Pennsylvania isn't your average 11-year-old. Provided that, last time I checked, most 11-year-olds aren't able to balance a handstand while performing archery with their feet. Intrigued? Well, aim your eyes at this. Anyone else get a cramp in their feet just watching that? There's something incredibly satisfying, not to mention impressive, seeing her pop balloons and bullseyes as she shoots with her feet. So for all you mediocre 11-year-olds who can't perform archery with your toes, shame on you. I don't know what this guy has against suds, but he carves through them like a soaked-up samurai, his squeegee hypnotically snaking over the glass. Despite this guy's skills, sometimes no amount of wiping will do. Keeping the ball rolling on impossible acts of ball movement, it can be surprisingly satisfying to see gifted snooker players in action. I'm not talking about simply ball potting, but rather those who have the sport down to science. Those able to pilot and pivot the ball around the table like Yulian Cernatinschi. Take a look. While it might seem like some kind of sorcery, Yulian simply has skill, practice, and know-how, meaning he can masterfully manipulate the balls to go just about anywhere he wants them. Utilizing hits of super precise placement on the axis of the ball with precisely varied force applied, players like Yulian can easily navigate the table in just about any which way they desire. But if you're not completely satisfied with Yulian's skills, then check out the appropriately named TikToker SnookerMaster00. With total control, he can even create art in the form of snooker balls. Take a look. Crazy, right? How on earth did he ensure such an accurate path to not only sink the other two reds, but to land the final ball right there, completing the heart? I don't like to pick favorites, but this fellow has left my mind well and truly blown. Talk about a makeover. The chair completely changes color as the super-powered water blasts the muck, mold, and dirt away. Power washers can exert up to 2,800 pounds per square inch of pressure, which is strong enough to break through a person's skin. TikToker W2 Six-Pack Chef is sharper in a more literal sense. He's a lean, mean chopping machine with microscopic precision. Just watch here as he shows off his knack of the knife and shreds a cucumber into insanely thin slices. Using a claw grip, he's able to annihilate the cucumber with his razor-sharp weapon of choice. Given that we've got a perfectly good video right here of this guy in action, why don't we all agree to not try chopping like this guy at home? I can almost guarantee that while you might be able to match his speed, you won't be able to match his ability to keep all of his fingers as well.
对，来，Get it? Yeah.
When I say I'm going to throw some dinner together, I'm usually talking about tater tots and pizza rolls, but this guy treats his customers to an entire juggling act. Throwing the beans and the rice is impressive enough, but look at the way he tosses the salsa, using the tortilla like a baseball mitt. That's just pure saucery. If I had to clean those seats, I'd probably reach for a water hose. But the heat from the fire actually does a better job, melting away the thin layer of damaged plastic on top of the seats to reveal the original colored plastic beneath. The seats are as good as new, but if you value your pants, you might want to wait a minute before you sit down on them. It's pretty hard to believe some workers out there are cleaning with fire.
看干嘛？没见过了，太牛逼了！
除非要切这块给10块钱。
哇，你们谁学会的？我给50。
就
5万吧，这么大老板，
谁学会就留在这里种瓜。
就是
老板怎么这样呢？
就是啊，
董总说的是
这
西瓜富嘛。
开玩笑，云南老板100元都不给。哇靠！
你看你老太配合。
来，掰一把，掰一把。
She's a watermelon felon, slicing and dicing the fruit in just a few seconds to create beautifully fruity flowers, ingeniously preparing plenty of portions without having to cut individual slices. Sweeping water along the street with broomsticks? Oh, I guess that is a thing. These workers are like waterbenders. Their sweeps are synchronized, ensuring that water keeps flowing in one direction. And the tightly packed bristles on their specialized brooms stop the water from seeping through, guiding the floodwater like livestock. You might be wondering what would have happened if these sweepers weren't there to stop water flooding the road. Well, if I had a road that needed draining, I know which worker I'd call first. They say that the world is your oyster, but for this guy, the world is a giant bathtub, just waiting to be unplugged. Every city needs a superhero, and when Highway 288 flooded in Houston, this high-vis hero threw on a helmet, picked up his shovel, and saved the city. unclogging the drain with his bare hands. Luckily, ABC-13 Houston was there to capture his heroism, and within a few minutes, the water was sucked down by a whirlpool, completely draining the highway. This solo savior's certainly impressive. This next worker is the definition of work harder, not smarter, and his handiwork hardly requires his hands at all. These huge nuts and bolts are used to secure large metal structures, like the base of wind turbines. But this guy makes light work of the heavy-duty nuts, ripping the fabric away like he's starting a lawnmower. TikTok user Putch8 lays down some drywall mud, a mixture of gypsum powder, water, and other tasty ingredients that instantly create a smooth surface to be painted or wallpapered. He's lightning fast, filling holes with mud and brains with satisfaction in just a few seconds. Being called a control freak isn't usually a compliment, but the freakish amount of control that this chef has over his pan is outstanding.
Okay.
It's pretty nerve-wracking when this wok star starts shaking the overflowing wok, but his technique is flawless, making the stir-fry flip over in great waves of deliciousness. If I tried this, I'd definitely end up with a face full of rice. Usually consisting of a composition of gypsum, lime, or cement with water and sand. But still, watching the job get finished is no less satisfying. The incredible workers at Oliver Aguirre Concrete Repair are using foam and a caulk gun to replace the joints in a concrete driveway. The workman is only as good as his tools, and the man with the big caulking gun in his hands here is filling the gaps with self-leveling polyurethane, meaning that he can fire the liquid into the channel and leave it to do its thing, automatically creating a perfectly level surface. Why do I feel dirty inside after that sentence? Well, it doesn't make it any less satisfying, and I could watch that river of filler all day long. It definitely has my seal of approval. Satisfaction achieved. Josh King is a talented road worker who's required to pour and paint road markings at the same time, with only a rough outline of the letters to guide him. Knowing me, under all that pressure, I'd probably forget how to spell bus,